It is my pleasure to welcome Nicole Gunderson, Managing Director of the Global Insurance Accelerator, here today. Nicole, hi.
Hi.
Or the GIA, I should say.
Yes.
I was sitting here trying to think about Global Insurance Accelerator, and I'm like, but it's the GIA. Anyone that knows it is the GIA. So, I mean, you've been at the GIA for how long now?
Going almost 3 years.
It's amazing. I can't believe that it's been that long. I feel like it was just yesterday. Welcome.
Thank you.
And so remind me again, if you don't mind, sort of like what brought you into the world of insurance and InsureTech?
Yeah, I was fortunate prior to joining the GIA, my background was more in financial services and fintech. And so I had a board member who I had stayed in touch with, and he was the chairman of the board for the Global Insurance Accelerator, and reached out to me saying, look, we've built the GIA, started in 2014, Des Moines, Iowa. We're focused on insurance. And he's like, I know that you don't have a strong insurance background. That's okay. We need someone who has experience in working and building startups, knows how to sell into and work with, in my case, it was larger financial institutions, very similar arc to what was going on in financial services and fintech as insurance and InsureTech. And it got me really interested. I had also, I was born and raised in Iowa, but I had been away from the state for, I think, about 17 years at that point in time. And so this role got me back. I was in San Francisco, and it got me back to Des Moines, Iowa, which was a really exciting opportunity for me personally.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, the GIA for us, here at InsureTech Connect, has just a special place. I think back to our very first year, and you were the first, I believe, the very first InsureTech Accelerator that existed.
Right.
And so, I mean, it's pioneers. It was great, but I remember talking to you guys at the GIA and sort of saying, here's what we'd like to do. And it was kind of one of those where if Brian at the time had said, no, I think it's a bad idea, I don't know if we would have thrown in the towel per se, but let's just say that it was one of those conversations where you say, the fact that he said, this is a good idea, let's try it. And you know what? I don't really know you, but I like the mission that you're trying to do. And so it's hard not to say, to feel great about that, but also you have had great companies and great people. So as you think about now your tenure now, well, you said you're going into your 4th program, what's, sort of like what's changed and evolved in the sort of the time since you started to today?
Yeah, one thing I'll say is
please.
I was actually remembering when I came into the job in early 2019, you were one of the first calls that Brian brought me into because we were already preparing for ITC. And I just remember the warm welcome, and I think that it speaks to, as you mentioned, just the early willingness of both you and your organization and the GIA to be a part of something great for the industry. And so I think as I've come in and been able to be a part of that, it's been what's happening for us is we kind of continue to have the same accelerator model. But as you know, the world is different in terms of what insurance and InsureTech look like now than it did in 2014 and 2015 when we got our start. And so I'm experiencing that every year of, I think it's super interesting, from a technology perspective and InsureTech perspective, so many of the founders from our companies, a lot of them didn't used to have insurance experience. They were the technology people, and maybe someone had told them, there's a use case here for insurance. Now more of the companies that we get to meet, they recognize either that there's actually someone coming from insurance, had the problem, they're building the company, or the technologist has quickly partnered with an insurance person. I think that's a really interesting evolution in a pretty short time, really.
I certainly know that when I came into the space, I'm not an insurance guy, and so we felt a little bit of this, kind of like, you feel like, am I allowed to do this, not being an insurance person?
Right.
And so, but then people would also say, it's a welcoming community, but they'd also say, an outsider's perspective can be fresh. Do you think today that when you think about the matching up of insurance knowledge and tech, or someone with tech, I assume that it is actually like the best pairing possible, is having that inside knowledge though. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, It's your point is a good one, and I remember actually looking to the gentleman Jeff Russell from Delta Dental of Iowa, who was the board chair at the time, and he came to me and said, "It's okay, you don't have insurance experience," and I'm like, "Really? Like that seems." I'm going to be running an InsureTech accelerator. And he's like, no, we have a lot of people who know insurance. We need someone who can challenge some of that thinking coming from these other sets of experiences. So I think there is a good, healthy balance that still exists. But at the end of the day, the thing that I've learned is you do in building a company, someone has to understand insurance well, and so I think that's what we're seeing from more of the startup perspective is you can't go it alone. It's a big part of what we do is just trying to bring insurance professionals to serve as mentors to those companies if at that point in time they have yet to bring on that kind of insurance executive or team member. Try to arm them with all the information that they need.
I feel like I have seen, there was a wave of accelerators, and it sort of was like everyone was an accelerator. And then, a lot of that has sort of like died down. And so what do you think it is that has sort of allowed you to, be the first and be preeminent and still not have to radically change sort of like who you are? What has been sort of that secret, if you will, to your endurance?
Yeah. I love that question, and something I've been thinking a lot about as we enter the 8th year of the GIA.
Wow.
We have 50 portfolio companies who've been through the program. Super exciting. We have, I think there's 20 here.
And you guys are the best. If you're a startup company, you can't have a big booth. So we're like, we got to have these little kiosks, and it's like, well, and so like the GIA, we sort of turned to the GIA and said, like, help us. We want some of your interesting companies to be there. So every time I think about that, like it makes me smile. So sorry.
It's awesome. No, it's awesome. I remember when one of those calls. I don't even remember what maybe the number was that we used to have. But I was like, I think we should do more because this is, to your point, that startup journey. It's hard, to maybe you want to be here, you need to be here. Can you afford to be here? We can help them do that. And I think to that point, one of the reasons I think the GIA continues to kind of grow and thrive, and it's very interesting for me. We're specifically backed by carriers, and there was an original group of 7 from Des Moines, Iowa, that came together to say, "Hey, we're this insurance location and hub. We have a ton of insurance professionals that can help serve as mentors," and even though the industry is continuing to grow and evolve, the desire to continue to be a part of driving innovation in the industry has not stopped from that group. We've added more since that are not just based in Des Moines, but also around the country. So I think that's allowed us to continue to kind of still be core to what we do and not try to be all things to all people. That's one of the things like every good startup, you try to help them. You got to stay focused. We too have to stay focused. We can't do everything for everyone. So what do we do really well? We provide core insurance mentorship to early stage startups and backed by that carrier base. And it's allowed us to kind of keep doing that.
I think you explained it really well, this idea that there's, and maybe people don't realize what a hub of insurance Des Moines is. And I think part of that where people may not realize it, great companies, great people, great successful companies, and saying like, startups, come here, we want to help you. And I think it's very different than startups trying to knock on their door and saying, please work with us. And so I think they really created that amazing environment for the genesis of it. And that's there. I mean, you must have been tempted to say, well, should we get more than one cohort at this time or a different field? It must have been hard to kind of stay like as focused as you have been, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the words that I use. We have a lot of opportunity for what we could be doing, and I'm excited because that just means there is more that we can do even as we move into year 8, but also still trying to stay a little bit true to the core helps keep everyone on the same page.
You did say something, and I think it's been really resonated with me in the fact that you really invest more, I would say, in your startups. This isn't just a factory. You're not here to sort of like churn them through. It's truly about helping them, helping the industry, And the fact that you invest in them, I think, is very, very sort of like visible and easy to see. Wow.
It's something I love about what we do. The companies that we get to bring to ITC as support, they're alumni of the program. And this, we have someone here from our first program in 2015, so it's not just about the 100 days once they're part of us. And it's been so fun. So many of our carrier partners are here too. And, they're coming by and seeing someone that, maybe they haven't seen in 2 years' time, and hearing more about the progress of those businesses. And so there's just kind of this constant growth, I think, by all the different stakeholders in that. So thank you for, speaking to, it's not just the accelerator. That's a very critical time to help prove some product market fit, but we know it doesn't really stop there.
I wanted to ask you about some of your favorite startups, but I realized that's kind of asking like which child you like the best. So, maybe not now. So. Well, Nicole, thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to have you, and thank you for everything you do, not just for us, but for the industry.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and you guys are equally doing some really amazing things for the industry by getting us all here.
We're a good team.
Yeah.